In the last lecture, we talked about TLS, and we said that if we are looking to provide security for applications, we can use TLS for transport layer security. TLS is a stand between layer 3 and layer 4 and layer 5. It's something, it's a protocol over TCP. Okay, so each application that that they use TCP for transmission, they can use TLS too. This protocol, TLS protocol, is a stand based on SSL or secure socket layer protocol, but we know that the SSL protocol only can be used for web traffics. So we can say that TLS is a version, is a general version of SSL. They are similar together, but SSL is limited to web traffics, and TLS can be used for the whole traffic sent by TCP. Okay. In TLS, we have handshake, key derivation, data transformation, and connection closure. We have these pieces or these steps. But before everything, before talking more about TLS, let me talk about a simpler version of TLS, toy TLS or TTLS, something like that. Yes, okay. This toy TLS or TTLS is a simpler version of TLS, simpler version of real TLS. It has handshaking, key derivation, data transformation, and connection closure. Let us start with the handshake step. Alice and Bob, firstly they should start a connection. So here you can see a three-way handshake between Alice and Bob. Bob sends a TCP sync message segment. Alice will answer using a TCP sync plus ACK segment, and finally Bob should acknowledge the Alice's message. So these three steps here, there stands for primary TCP handshakes, three-way handshake in TCP. Okay, but as I said, TLS is something over TCP. So firstly, I create a TCP connection, and over that connection, over this, after complete setup of this connection, I can start a TLS connection. So I will try to create a handshake, make a handshake with the other side. Bob sends a hello message to Alice. Alice will answer with the public key, which is public key certificate, with her public key certificate, and Bob would sign a message with this public key. But what is the message of Bob here? What is this message? Alice sent her public key certificate. As we talked in the last lecture, in this certificate, we can find the public key of Alice. We can find Alice's public key in that certificate. Okay? Alice sends her certificate to Bob. And now, Bob uses this certificate to encrypt a message, send a message to Alice. But what is this message? This message consists of a master key, secret key. A master secret key. What is this key? It's a high-level key that both sides of this communication here, both sides, Alice and Bob, both of them, are using this master key, this master secret key, to generate the rest of keys. We need to use some keys during this connection. Okay? But instead of sending those keys one by one to the other side, Bob sends a master key, a master secret key to Alice. And as I said in the past lecture, this should be minus sign. This one here. On here. So this message have been signed using the Alice's public key. Okay, it's not Bob's public key. This is Alice's public key. So in this way, using this message sent here, this one here, we are sending the master key to the other side. And after that, Alice and Bob, both of them, has this secret key, so they can create the other keys based on this master key. How? It's simple. They are using similar algorithms. Please note that always in security mechanisms, when we are talking about security in network or something like that, always we oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry, I forget what I said. Oh, I forget everything. Sorry, so sorry. Yes, I remember. Please note that when we talk about security, especially when we talked about cryptography and creating software cipher text, the algorithm is not important. What does it mean? It means that you can find the algorithm different ciphering algorithm, different encryption algorithms over the web. You can, for example, you can find AES, DES, AES, triple DES, RSA, and rest of the security algorithms over the internet. You can find those algorithms with complete specifications. Even if you are interested to programming, simply you can add security libraries and find those cryptography algorithms. It's not important, but what is important is in cryptography is the key, the security key. This one is the most important item, the key. So here you can see Bob and Alice are using similar algorithms, but to create similar keys, Bob is starting to send this master key here, master security key, this one here, to Alice. So they have similar keys. They can create similar other keys, similar encrypted patterns, similar public or private or shared keys. It's very easy. But firstly, we need this master key. And you can see here that Bob sends this master key to Alice using an asymmetric strategy, cryptography strategy. So we can say that this is sending strategy is completely secure. Okay. After this, Alice and Bob can create the other keys completely separated in a separated manner, completely separated. Each of Alice and Bob, each of them can create the required keys, and then they can use those keys for the rest of this collection. Okay. And after that, you can see here in this part. Look at this one. We have three separated parts. Firstly, we should create a TCP connection. Secondly, we should create a TTOI connection. And finally, in the third step, Alice and Bob can send their data over that secure channel. In the second step, we create this secure channel. Okay. Maybe someone says that, okay, this strategy is too long. You know, this is correct. I know. One RTT here, one more here, and then we need another RTT here, to receive the required data. You are spending 3 RTTs time. Maybe it's a little long, but if we are looking for a secure channel, this time is not too long. Okay. Let me go through the details. I said that Alice and Bob are sending. Alice and Bob. Bob sends the master secret key to Alice. But what will happen after this? We know that we need more keys, more security keys. So we need a key derivation function, or KDF. Here we are using this function in Alice and Bob, in both of them. This function accepts the master secret key as its input, and finally, possibly, this function creates the rest of keys for us. At least we need 2 encryption keys. One encryption key to send information or send data from client to servers. Another encryption key to send information from the server to client in the reverse direction. But we need 2 more keys too. What are those keys? We call them as MAC key. MAC means message authentication code. In computer networks, we have 2 different MACs. The primary MAC is the MAC layer in TCP/IP stack. MAC layer is placing in layer 2. It's on top of physical layer. In TCP/IP TCP/IP protocol stack. MAC is standing in layer 2. Okay, and MAC is responsible to send and receive information between different sources and destinations, sending information correctly. But the other MAC in computer networks is message authentication code. It's a key. Mechanism to authenticate the other side of a channel, of a communication. Okay. So we have a message authentication code, or a MAC code, to authenticate the other side of the communication. So we can see we need a MAC key to send data from client to server, and we need another MAC key to send data from server to client. So we need at least we need 4 different keys. And these 4 keys are extracted from the master secret key. I said that this master secret key is sent by Bob to Alice, and in both sides, in Alice and Bob, we are using a key derivation function to create these 4 keys. Look at this one here. When we want to send information to the other side, we are putting those data in some segments. Because I said that TLS is over TCP, so it's connection oriented. TCP is a connection oriented service, and TCP is using byte stream concept to send information from one side to the other side. But in reality, we know that we cannot send information in byte stream order over current networks, current TCP IP networks. Instead of that, I'm putting those data into some packets, some segments. And then we can send those segments to the other side. But to make it safe, sending those data, safe to send those data over internet, we can use a MAC code here, message authentication code. This code can help us to ensure that there is a real person, a person who a person we want to look for him. In the other side. So simply we add this MAC code to the message, and then we can send this message to the other side. Also, as we talked in the last lectures, because of time complexity of using asymmetric keys, here we are using symmetric keys, because we said that applying an asymmetric keys, using asymmetric keys to encrypt different information, different data, it's hard and time consuming. So instead of that, we use symmetric key strategy to encrypt the message. Okay. Maybe someone asked me, okay, we are talking about a stream, a data stream, but what will happen if those data became reorder? What will happen? If we receive an reordered traffics, it has two means. The first one is that all data is sent over different passes to the destination. Okay, and became reordered. But we know that routing algorithms are applying every 30 seconds, 2 times per minute. So if a routing is persistent for 30 seconds, my packet shouldn't reorder always, because one pass is stable for 30 seconds before receiving more routing information, more routing data. So if we see that those data are still reordering multiple times, always, this means there is an attack in the network, especially a man-in-the-middle attack. A man-in-the-middle attack is a simple attack. The attacker is sitting between Alice and Bob. The intruder is sitting between Alice and Bob, so he or she can save the whole data. The intruder can save those data, he can sniff those data, and sometimes the intruder can reorder the data. Why? Because of his objectives. He can manipulate those encrypted data over internet. Okay. Also, a message can be replayed by the intruder. We talked about replay attack in the past. I think in chapter 1, at the end of chapter 1. We talked about replaying attack. We said that the intruder comes into the intruder can sit between Alice and Bob. He or she can capture the packets, and after a while, he or the intruder can resend or replay those packets to the destination, the saved packet. We are sending the intruder sends the recorded packets in the future. So we call it replay attack. Yes, here we can use, this strategy can suffer can suffer from reordering or replay attacks. So to handle these attacks, simply we can use a MAC message, a MAC code inside this value here. Besides sending this we are adding this match to prohibit these attacks. To avoid these attacks, simply this match can be used. This MAC code can be used for this. Also, we can inside this MAC code we can use behind or in addition to MAC code to avoid reordering or to avoid replaying attacks, we can use nonce. Again, in the past lectures we talked about nonce, and we said that okay, we can create some timing labels, attaching those labels into packets. When a packet sends, when a packet is sent over the network, each packet can receive a nonce value. So nonce is a time tag. So simply, when I receive a message with an absolute tag, absolute time tag, I can say, okay, this is an absolute one, absolute packet. I don't want to open this packet, this segment, because it's expired. Its nonce is expired. So simply I can drop that replayed packets. Even I can use this strategy for reordered packets. Okay? So we use MAC plus nonce in these segments to avoid such those attacks. Okay. So until now, we firstly create a handshake mechanism. We talked about this handshaking mechanism. Then we create the required keys, and now we said that how can I send information over TLS connection? But what about the connection close step? You know, one of the main steps in security process is closing opens connections. The open connections, okay? Why? Because if I don't close my connection, the attacker can capture my connection. Maybe the attacker, the intruder, can hijack my session. Why? Because I didn't close it. So the attacker can capture that connection. Okay? He or she can capture that packet and capture that connection and continuing sending information to the other side. For example, I'm a client. I want to create a connection with a web server, with a financial server. Okay, but at the end, I didn't close my connection. So an attacker can hijack my session, my open session, and he or she can send extra orders to the financial server. Okay. So in TLS, we need a connection closure step from at least one side or two sides. At least from one side. For example, I'm a client, so I'm starting the connection and finally I should close it. It's simple. I need a connection closure step so I can create a new type of packets for connection closure. For example, I can add a type option to my segments. For example, we can use type 0 for data packets, data segments, and type 1 for closed connections, for closed state. Okay? And using this strategy, we can close the connection. We can send a close request using type 1, for example. A close request type 1 to close the connection. Okay. Also, we can add some extra data to packets. For example, we can add a sequence number, a type field, and data, something like that, to the message transferred between Alice and Bob. But when we talk about match here, the match section, as we talked in the past, let me show you here this one. Say that we need a hash message, hashing strategy. Here, we said that to sign every packets, we are sending this data plus its hash value. Also, we can encrypt that hash value too. Okay, and then we send this information to the other side. Using a similar strategy, we use a similar strategy to create this MAC code. Here we have a length, type, and data fields, and based on these fields, we can create a digest, a MAC code, a hash code. to keep the integrity of this message. So MAC is computed based on the other, based on the values of the values of the other sections, other parts in the message. And here you can see the position of TLS is standing between TCP and application layer, for example, between TCP and a website, a web server, something like that. In current days, if you are using UDP, for example, for HTTP3, HTTP3 is a kind of HTTP2, is a version of HTTP2, but this HTTP3 can be sent over UDP. We know that HTTP always is sent through TCP, but in HTTP3 we can send information through UDP. And in this case, quick. We can use quick. It's a special version of TLS for UDP. You know, in UDP is a connectionless strategy. Is a connectionless protocol. It's completely different from TCP. In TCP, we say that, okay, firstly, we create a connection between those parties in TCP communication, and after that, we create another connection for TLS, and then we're keeping, then we try to keep them safe. Okay, anyway, if you are looking for TCP services, we can use TLS. And if you are looking for UDP in HTTP3, if you are looking for UDP, we can use quick to create a similar platform for sending information. In real TLS, we can use a cipher suite package. It means that in TLS 1.3, there is a list of ciphering algorithm, and we can use, we means that Alice and Bob, both sides, can use their strategy, can select their strategy because they should make an agreement about the key generation techniques and ciphering techniques and MAC authentication. They should make an agreement about those, all of them. Okay, so we prepare a cipher suites with possible options for all of those methods, for encryption, for MAC, for digital signature, on everything. Both of them. Firstly, make an agreement about each of those algorithms that they are using, and then they are trying to send information. And this choosing step, choosing different algorithms for different parts, is happened during the handshaking steps. During the first step, firstly we should create make a handshake. At the end of that handshake, we should make an agreement about each of those algorithms. That is interesting. In TLS 1.2, presented in 2008, we have a wider list of algorithms, but this list became shorter in TLS 1.3 in 2018, 10 years later. This list became shorter. For example, in TLS 1.2, we have 37 choices in different parts, but in TLS 1.3, we have only 5 different choices. You know. Also, for HMAC, in TLS 1.3, we are using SHA strategy with keys with length 256 or 284 bit length, and also we are using Diffie-Hellman key exchange strategy instead of using in TLS 1.2, we can use Diffie-Hellman strategy or RSA strategy. In TLS 1.3, we only can use Diffie-Hellman strategy. Or in TLS 1.3, we can use a combination of different authentication and encryption strategies. At least we can use 4 different encryption and authentication algorithms. Those algorithms are based on AES. So we can see that from TLS 1.2 on to TLS 1.3, we have some changes, but in reality, the whole structure, the basic structure of TLS does not change during this time. For example, look at this one here. This is the handshake step of in TLS 1.3. During the first step, client sent a hello message, and it sends it supported cipher suites. Client said that, okay, server, hi server, I can support only these algorithms. The client sends its list. I can only support these algorithms. A DHT agreement protocol and parameters too. So in the first hello message, we can see client sends its list for different protocols which it can support, and also some keys. It proposed some key agreements to server. In the other side, the server will receive this hello, and the server will say, okay, salamun alaikum, and from this cipher suite is presented, proposed cipher suite here, the server can choose one of those algorithms. Some of those algorithms, one in each step, one for each part. Okay, so the server selects. Okay, I'm using this strategy, this one here. Okay, and also the server should must agree with those proposed key. And also this server must have a certificate, a signed certificate. So the server also sends its signed certificate to client. Why? Because this client should authenticate the server. How he can authenticate it? Simply, okay, server, please give me your certificate. I want to check your identity. Server will send that certificate to the client, and client can recheck that certificate with the authority or with some systems, some checker systems over the internet to prove that that certificate is a real one. That server is the server that I'm looking for. That. Okay. So the server will send its signed certificate to the client, and finally, client receives his agreement. It asks from server to agreement about some parameters, and now it received those, and it received its answers. Its answers to this question here. So simply, the client can check that certificate and prove it. Okay, this certificate is correct, and you are a real guy that I'm looking for him. And based on those selected strategies in the security cipher suite, the clients start to generate different keys, and after that, my application, web or something else, FTP, email, every other services can use this connection, same information. Here you can see that I'm spending 1 hour to server, and server will say Salamun alaikum. Client says Salamun alaikum. The server says Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, and still we can see that the basic parameters in those handshaking is similar to the past messages, but here the lines in red. This is the main difference between the client and the server. Here you can see that from the beginning, the client is starting to send a hello, assalamun alaikum to server, but at the same time, it's trying to send information to it receives its answer based on its strategy, based on its strategy to send a small portion of data. Here you can see during the handshake, right in the handshake step, we send information and receive information too. We had a handshake here, and at the same time we are sending some data to the other side. So here we try to overlap those times, the time for handshaking and the time for sending information between client and server. So here we can see that the time of all handshaking is 0 because of that overlap. Okay. And this application data here is an encrypted data. But how we can do this? Maybe, for example, I have a past connection with the other side, and now just I want to resume that connection. Okay. So the data sent here, said in this strategy, this data in red, okay, in the red line, this data is encrypted using the master secret key. We call it resumption master secret key. This master secret key connection, we keep it. So here we encrypt those data in reds using this strategy. But this idea, the idea here, has a main vulnerability, a main hole. What's that hole? That hole is that I'm trying to send this information here, and I said that I'm encrypting with the connection from the past connection. So it really can sniff, can capture the past messages, and now he or she can send those information, or even they can crack this strategy and send information to the other side, because I'm trying to link my new connection to the past one. So simply you can receive past information and make some small correction, some small modification, and then through you know that in that replayed message we have resumption master secret key. So simply, the attacker can hijack my connection after me. I'm finishing my connection in my messaging system. So someone else can come and capture that information and resend those information to the universe, to the server. Okay, so if we are looking for this with okay, forward. Until now, we talked about in the application. Again, we are looking for a connection for security, for authentication, for integrity, something like that. So what should we do? What should we do in the network layer? We know that in network layer, we are working with packets, with network packets. And we know that in that packets, a packet has two different parts, a header and a payload. So for example, if I'm looking for encryption, encryption, authentication, and integrity. These three different aspects have similar ideas. We talked about those ideas in the first of this chapter. We talked about those ideas. And now I'm trying to apply them in the network layer. Okay. If we're going through this, going more deeply, going to details, more details, let me talk about one more thing. I have a packet and I want to secure it, make it secure. Maybe someone ask me, okay, when you are talking about security in the network layer, do you talk about security in payload, or you're talking about security for the whole packet? What is your idea? Which one is correct? We're talking about encryption, authentication, and integrity applying only on the payload of the message of the packet, or you are talking about the whole packet. So here we have two different modes. Maybe someone says that, okay, I'm only talking about the payloads. We call it transport mode. Why? Because the payload comes from the transport layer. Okay? So we call it transport mode. It means that only the received data from the transport layer should be encrypted or should be secured. Okay, only transport, only payload data in the packet. But maybe someone says that no, I'm looking for a security in the whole of a packet. We call it tunneling mode. In tunneling mode, the whole packet, the entire datagram should be encrypted and authenticated and something like that. The entire packet is our target to apply encryption strategies, applying authentication strategies, applying integrity strategies. And so I'm looking for the whole packet. And in this case, what will happen if I, for example, encrypt header of a packet? If I encrypt header of a packet, routers cannot read it. So in this case, if I'm working to encrypt the whole packet, the entire packet, after the encryption, after making, for example, authentication, after applying integrity techniques, the result cannot be sent over the network. So I must put this secured message, this encrypted packet, into another one. So we call it tunneling mode or tunnel mode. Because we talked about this in the past. In the previous chapter, when we talked about mobility, handling mobility in networks, we said that, okay, in indirect routing, the correspondent sends his packet or her packet to the home agent, and the home agent create a tunnel with the foreign agent. And we said that, okay, it puts one packet into another one and resend that packet to the new address, to the foreign agent. Okay? And at that time, we said that we create a logical tunnel between the home agent and the foreign agent. And now, again, repeat that story. Again here, I'm encrypting the whole packet, the entire packet, and now I cannot send it over internet because the header of the packet is encrypted. So so routers cannot read it. So after encrypting the entire packet, after applying authentication strategies and integrity strategies, we put it into another packet, and that packet here, that packet would send over internet, over the network. So we call it tunnel mode. We create a tunnel. But in transport mode, we only talk about the payload of datagram, something like that. So we don't handle, we don't change header of the packet. So all packets can be sent over the internet simply, same as previous. Look at this one here. Here, we don't handle this header. We just handle the payload. But in tunnel mode, we encrypt the whole packet, so we put it in another packet, and that packet would transfer over the network. Okay, let me check something. So we have two different types of IPsec protocol. IP, we are in layer 3. In layer 3 network layer, we know that the main protocol in layer 3 is IP. And we want to make it secure. So we have a new protocol, we called it IPsec. This protocol creates a secure tunnel, a secure mode for IP traffics. We call it IPsec. So IPsec has two types: authentication header or encapsulation security payload. When we are using authentication header protocol, this protocol only provide authentication and data integrity for us. In authentication header or H protocol, the confidentiality is missing. The other protocol is ESP or encapsulation security protocol. This protocol provides everything: authentication, data integrity, and confidentiality. Everything. So simply, for example, I have a branch in Mashhad. I have another branch in, for example, Tabriz. I have another branch in Isfahan, in Iraq, in different cities. And my central branch, for example, I'm a very large company. I have a very large company, or I have a very large enterprise with different branches scattering over the Iran's map. Okay. In this case, I cannot use a header, an authentication header protocol. Why? Because firstly, I should keep my data secure, confidential. I cannot create my own network. It's not economic. So I'm trying to use Iranian telecommunication platforms to send my information from different branches, different offices, to the central office, central branch of my company. So confidentiality is the basic for me. So over the internet, I have to create a VPN. Firstly, I'm creating a VPN, and over that VPN, you can do everything. You can provide authentication, data integrity, and confidentiality to keep your information securely. But maybe in some cases, for example, inside the university network. Inside the university network, most of the time we don't need confidentiality. It's not important. We just need to provide some integrity in data and make authentication inside the university. This is my home network. Okay, so I can trust most of elements. Okay. In this case, I'm using AS protocol strategy, because I don't need confidentiality. Okay. One more thing I should talk about it here. When we talked about authentication header or ESP, or every other security issue, every other security strategies. We should know, we should note that, we should care that the result is larger than past. For example, maybe you have a message with, for example, 500 bytes length, okay? A small message. But after encryption and adding more security strategies to my packet, applying different security strategies to my packet, the final length of the packet would be gross. It would be security issues, and I have to accept these extra overheads because of the security. So maybe someone's when they read about these overheads, maybe sometimes they change their minds. Okay, instead of ESP, I can use AH2. Why should I make it confidential? Why? Okay. That is enough for today. Is there any question? Any question? Okay. On Tuesday we we won't have a class. Okay. The Tuesday's class on Tuesday is cancelled. Okay. I wish the best for you and have a good time. Goodbye.